Welcome to the Human Together podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jason Floyd. Human Together is a show that is centered on humanity to create understanding and appreciation for individuals and groups that are both informative and thought-provoking. In the Human Together podcast, I have discussions with individuals and groups that support making social connections among people. Another podcast that does an excellent job of connecting people, places, and events is the Only an OK Show. Today, I've invited the host of the show, Harley Covington, and Brett Manzer to share about the show. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you doing this evening?
Great. Thank you very much for having us on the show.
I am better than I deserve.
Sounds fantastic. I want to start by telling you both I love the show, and I mentioned that in previous communications, and you guys are doing a fantastic job. I certainly appreciate the show.
Well, thanks. It's been kind of a journey. We started out kind of slow, and now it's really starting to take off. There's a lot to, again, there's so much to see and do, and I think people miss that, and that's kind of why we're here.
Give us the lowdown of your show. What's the premise of the podcast?
Well, the premise is things that we mention aren't things that are only exclusive to Oklahoma, but mainly we seek to shine a light on otherwise overlooked. There's small communities doing things all over the place. There's like this renaissance happening with Main Street America right here in Oklahoma. It's not just going on downtown and in your metros. So, we're trying to find those small pocket communities and kind of see what's going on, get a finger on the pulse out there.
How did it all get started? Why did you start to focus on places in Oklahoma?
We had done a podcast previously where we kind of didn't really have a focus on an exact geographic location. And we found ourselves more and more often coming back to Oklahoma and doing shows that covered Oklahoma topics. And we decided we liked doing things that we can actually go out and put our hands on. So we switched gears and started the Only an OK Show.
Well, and to be fair, not to give too much of the back office, but I started a career in radio. I worked for, I won't name who they are, but they're on Britain Road somewhere. And we started that was what I would do before I became an on-air personality. We would kind of go into the spare studios and record episodes because it was a way for me to kind of get in front of a mic. And we had an idea and we thought, well, what the hell, why not?
And you guys are based out of Oklahoma City?
We're actually in Chickasha. Our physical location, our bodies are in Chickasha, but right. we kind of bounce around all over the state.
Yeah.
Well, that's fairly centrally located. So you guys have bounced all over the state. How do you decide which locations or events to visit?
We try to hit, there's so many of those mainstream events that you always have, but you have these small pocket communities that are having the Oktoberfest, having the pecan festivals, things that you may or may not be hearing about. And I think they could use all the publicity they can get, and it just gives us an opportunity to kind of reach out more to a broader audience when we kind of sometimes we just kind of go, where are we headed? I don't know. We're just going. And that's kind of the direction we take. It's almost a mania at times when we're trying to determine where we're headed next. But we try to find the most interesting. We'll talk about the world's largest ball of yarn or the sweetest pecan pie. It just really doesn't. I don't know. We don't have a system.
Yeah. We do rely heavily on our listeners providing us ideas, especially if we're going to a particular part of the state. We'll reach out to our listeners and say, hey, we're going to be here. What do we need to make sure we check off the list?
Yeah, what's your best in class? And that's what we try to work down that list.
Well, you definitely visit some places that I haven't read about. So it's definitely a unique offering of places across Oklahoma and events that honestly I don't read about. So you guys definitely offer a great service in that sense. So
thank you very much.
So I mentioned earlier, you guys do a great job of connecting people to places by talking to some interesting individuals. Who are some interesting people that you were either surprised or opened your eyes to something new here in Oklahoma?
I will mention this because it's not on record anywhere, but we went in our previous existence, we went to a small town called Sasakwa, and we went to look for a stinkini, which is a creature that goes from an owl to a human and eats its own guts, whatever. Of course,
it's called what now?
A stinkini turns into an owl. After it eats its own guts, it turns back to a human. It's a long story.
Native American legend.
Legend.
Mushrooms under cows involved somehow?
Yes, I think so, because all we got was frostbite. But we went And we ended up meeting a guy, I can't remember his name, and if I tried to remember it, it'd sound like I was bashing the guy, but that lived in a house across the street from a diner we were going to eat at. Long story short, by the time we were done, we didn't know if we were going to make it out alive, number one. But number two, he had been abducted by aliens. He was waiting for the president of the United States to call him and get this information. There were notes upon notes upon notes, detailed notes. I will say the only thing I know for sure is he drinks Busch. That was probably, for me, the most interesting person I've met in a 6-year span of doing this stuff.
That's podcasting gold. You didn't produce that show and put that out there?
You know how many times I've said, why didn't we put this? We had video.
Okay, we recorded that interaction on 3 different medias, and 2 of them
did
not work at all. Like when we got back to the studio, there was nothing there. And the third one was broken up so badly that we couldn't do anything with it.
At one point, I got left alone with the guy where they had to go switch batteries in the camera. He told me he had an implant. He said, good luck. He's like, where'd they go? I said, they went to switch batteries. He goes, good luck. I've got an implant. No one's been able to film me. And I was like, okay.
At any point, did you hear dueling banjos?
Well, what's funny, we go to eat across the street at the only place in town, because the rest of the place, if you drove through downtown Detroit, this is what you were thinking, like it's like a wasteland. Mm-hmm. So we go to the only restaurant that's open. They said, you guys went across the street? We're like, yeah. Like, those 2 guys over there, they're apparently, one of them was a convicted sex offender. I mean, we were in the jaws of death.
They basically told us that we should not be just randomly talking to people in this town, and that we should be gone before dark.
Nothing against the Sackwood, but hey, I'm just telling you what the guy flipping the burger.
The locals, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you arm yourselves now when you go out?
No.
Just with our smiles and
a smile and a
positive attitude.
And what is it? A couple of silver-tongued devils like us, I figure we can talk our way out of anything.
That's a great story. You should maybe go back and air that someday.
I'm telling you.
A few of your previous shows I've enjoyed. The Banjo Museum, I was driving back from Panhandle and I got to listen to that. The Hamburger King in Shawnee. My parents grew up in Shawnee and my grandma took us there. And I love that show. And I work out in El Reno, so I enjoyed the Fort Reno. What have been some of your favorite places to visit so far?
Harley, I mean, he's like the road king.
Oh man, I don't know. The last one or the next one is always my favorite. I just spent my birthday up in the Tahlequah area. It's gorgeous up there, and there's a real growth in a lot of communities in that particular part of the state. I was super stoked and feel like I could spend 3 weeks there and not run out of interesting people and activities.
You know, for me, I think it's one of our more recent things we did. We took part in a polar plunge at Medicine Park in Medicine Springs. And I'm going to be up front. For a lot of people that don't know me, I hate water. I'm not a strong swimmer, and I don't like the cold. So it's 3 strikes, you're out. But I convinced both of us that we were going to do this. So we went down and did a polar plunge and kind of hung out. And, we've been to Medicine Park together separately. I grew up, my grandparents lived in Elgin. So going to Lake Ellsworth and Wichita Mountains was kind of a thing you did on the weekends. It wasn't necessarily just a tourist event. It was a local thing to do. So we both have experience in the area, but I'm not somebody that goes and swims there in the heat of the summer. So for me, that was the most fun because I've kind of decided in 2020 for myself I've created a bigger box for myself to step out of. And I think we've done that as a show as well. We're creating a bigger box, expanding our scope a little bit. We've learned a lot, and from my experience working as a radio disc jockey, I didn't have the reach that I have now. And not just in the sense that how many people can hear me, but how many people can I actually connect with? You have an ability. We have this platform that we can get out into the public. When you're doing a show called Only in Oklahoma, it's kind of hard to really do it from the corner bedroom. You kind of have to get out and do it. So, I think really, as much as that would be on his highlight reel, Medicine Park would be on mine, I think you almost have to, you can't really discount any of it because you just never know what you're going to run into. It's like the Sasakwa story. We had no idea. You couldn't have planned that any better.
How was the water? I can imagine the shrinkage factor is about a 12.
Well, I don't know if the growers, not showers community will speak up, but for me, it was a 45-degree water with a 0% chance of being anything above the skin. So yeah,
it was cold. It was physically painful.
It was painful.
Better you guys than me.
I think it's something everybody should try, to be completely honest. I think the sense of community there in Medicine Park is amazing. Can't say enough good things about the place.
Yeah, and really most communities that we're reaching out to and kind of almost becoming like, I don't know, they don't give us a key to the city, maybe a phone number to the Chamber of Commerce, but I just can't say enough about what Oklahoma is doing. If you really, again, you kind of broaden your scope a little bit, there's a lot of things going on.
You guys provide an excellent audio travel guide, at least for me. Where are you heading next?
Well, for me, I've been, again, you meeting all these people and making these connections. I've been afforded some opportunities. I will be a celebrity handler at the OKC Pop Culture Con, which, yes, it's not rubbing sticks together or roasting marshmallows, but I will be hanging out with Screech from Saved by the Bell. So
Bingo.
that's the next thing on my list.
I am going to be at the Festival of Freaks on March 21st. That looks to be extremely fun. Also have some camping RV trips set up for the beginning of April down in South Oklahoma. So we definitely are going to be out and about. And for the next 6 months, it's pretty much going to be every weekend.
Well, and I didn't mention I'm going to be having a child between the first week and the third week of April.
Congratulations.
42 years old, having a baby again. I got a 20-year-old. I don't know. Don't call the cops. I don't know what I'm doing.
I thought I had a gap in mine. Mine are 7 years, but certainly, it's like raising two families there.
Oh, don't start.
I have a suggestion for you for a future show. Have you guys ever partaken in meat pies?
I have heard of them.
Okay. I am oddly connected to these. I don't know why. And if you're ever in Jacktown, America, yes, that is a town in Oklahoma out towards Shawnee, there's a convenience store that sells meat pies. And I found these in other locations across the state at little convenience stores. There's no nutritional value in them whatsoever. There's a mystery meat and a cheese, and it's a pastry. Could be the official alternative food of Oklahoma.
I have heard. Now I'm having kind of a recall because I spent a lot of time in Shawnee. I grew up going to the Citizen Potawatomi Clinic down there. So I've hear tell of meat pies, but I didn't know it was in Jacktown. Now, how far is Jacktown from Shawnee proper?
Probably 15 miles or less. If you're coming from Oklahoma City, it's actually closer. Okay. So I think you take the Meeker exit, I believe.
Okay.
And you might want to research it. Saskatchewan may have meat pies, maybe worth a return.
Well, I don't know. The guys that we talked to about UFOs, I think they turn people into meat pies. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to be a part of the secret ingredient. I'd rather taste.
You could end up being a meat pie pastry. You definitely don't want that. Something to look into. Do you guys ever go out to the Panhandle?
We have not been to the Panhandle in a couple of years. It is definitely something that we are going to have. It's on the books. We just haven't kind of ironed out when and where. And
well, in Guyman is the only place you ever hear about on the weather. Mm-hmm. There's a lot. I know there's some things out there. We just haven't made it. We just haven't made it out that way. But it's definitely.
Yeah, Guyman's got some really neat places. Maybe worth half a day trip out there. Gentlemen, where can my listeners get hooked into your show? What platforms is the podcast available on?
We are available on every platform that I am aware of. We are only an OK Show on just about every social media platform. It's only an okshow.com. So we kind of went out and grabbed all of them right away.
Yeah. From iPhone to iHeart, you can find us.
Harley, Brett, I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show, and I'll definitely turn my listeners onto your podcast and increase your listenership.
Well, we appreciate you having us on the show. It's been a blast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. As we head into the spring and summer months, I encourage you to get out and travel. Even if you're not in Oklahoma, it's an opportunity to experience events and meet people from all walks of life in our continuous journey to become human together.